Welcome to Storytime number 68, October Storytime for 2023. So, today for our show and tell sort of topics, we had three different things. One was using mirrors, and we've got two using mirrors examples going on in the listening crowd today. Loving the one in the background on Mum and Dad, which confused me greatly when they first joined the call. I thought there was like a new window in the wall or something. A very appropriate confusion of mirrors using and actively using a mirror as we go, which is great. We also had the idea the best gift ever, which isn't necessarily intended as a gift. I didn't really have anything like that because my things were sort of intended as gifts. But I thought I'd wear my coat, which Mum bought for me. So it was sort of a gift. Yeah, I didn't purchase it myself. But I've had it for many years and it served me very, very well. But it came from, I think it was Morecambe, somewhere with traveling, and I didn't have appropriate gear for how cold it was. And it cost £2, but people always see me in this coat. It's a very favorite thing to wear in the winter and think that it's some very expensive special coat. I delight in telling them that it's my £2 charity shop coat from Morecambe. So it creates a bit of a story. And I think this jumper similarly is one that Mum sort of found in a charity shop somewhere and went, let's give it. It turned out to be one of my favorite items of clothing. Does anyone else have any best gift ever? Show and tell us.
I had two. So for those of you who don't know, that's just the English contingent. We have a referendum happening in Australia about whether our First Nations people should be mentioned in the Constitution, which they're currently not. And given that they are our First Nations people, that maybe it might be a good idea if there's a committee which is representative of them that gives advice to government, doesn't become the government, but gives advice to government about matters that relate to Indigenous people. Somebody was making some fairly outlandish claims. I went in and did a bit of a type, and I've been trying not to do that, but I did. And a name came up saying, hooray, a voice of sanity. You look as though you've actually done some reading. And I recognised the name. And the name was the same as someone I went to primary school with. So I said, after we had a bit of an exchange, I said, did you happen to go to Belair Primary School? Yes. I went, oh. And that person said, I knew an Anne Filmer. And I went, okay, that's me. And we were very, very good friends. And she said, oh, we were activists at heart. I remember walking home from school and talking about the wrongs of the world. And she also said she remembered going down to the beach in Dad's ute and how amazing, what amazing fun we had. We much more relaxed than her home. And she also said that she remembered my mum helping a man who'd fallen over in the street, an old man, and taking him to hospital when everyone else was walking past him because they thought he was drunk. And that kind of said it all. And she said that they both influenced her life, which, that's brilliant. So that was a beautiful, touching one. The other one's a bit less so, and that is I have this book called The Complete Guide to Self-Sufficiency, and I'm not really self-sufficient, but that book was lent to me by a fellow staff member. We worked together on the same teaching team, and I did a swap and I lent him an album, a Joni Mitchell album that I had. And I went overseas for a while. And when I got back, he'd moved. He'd left the school and moved away. So I've got his book on self-sufficiency, and somewhere he's got a vinyl record of Joni Mitchell. They weren't intended gifts, but they got from the fun.
Because they can't find each other now.
Or possibly accidental theft. I don't know.
One of those. Depends
yes,
how you
I've got
feel
one
about
like that too. When I moved from Peterborough, before I moved from Peterborough, a fellow teaching colleague moved before us. And I had a big shed in the back of the thing I was in, Queen Street. And I allowed him to put all his furniture in there because the pickup day was different from when he was moving, and he wasn't going to be there. So so that's fine, just store it in there and they'll come and get it. And they came and got it, but they took everything in the shed, including my surfboard, which I never got back.
Oh, no.
He got your surfboard. Did you never got it back from him?
Nope, never.
Our third show and tell sort of topic was my animal friend is up to something, and there have been some great posts in both of the messenger chat and the Google chat of people's animal friends up to something. I'm just going to show you very quickly by sharing my screen my animal friend up to something.
He's helping with story.
Yeah, really helpful.
Oh.
This is Riley's project at the moment.
It's called editing.
Here's my my mind map, and as you can see, Riley's project is to try and pull it apart at the binding, which she's done a semi-good job. And behind the cushion here, it took me quite a while to realize that this can you see that?
Yeah, you need patches on your patchwork.
Several generations of rabbits have had a go at this, because our rabbit in Australia made some holes, and that was in Australia, so Mum was able to assist me to repatch my patchwork, so that's why it's got quite a lot of little extra bits, like this little stripe here, but unfortunately these UK rabbits also quite like to make it a project to pull apart the patchwork. I don't know why they like it so much. They don't chew on the other blankets anywhere near that much, but I have to put this one away in between story times. It only comes out to be the background for this.
My animal friend is up to napping, which is what he does a lot. I will take you over to see. It might be a little bit dark over there, but I think he more has complaints about like what. Yeah.
Hello, Gigi.
Trying to have a nice little nap, and humans are disturbing.
He has complaints.
He has complaints. It's more problematic what the human friend has been up to, because I went to watch live tennis on Thursday, and then I went to birthday drinks last night. So 2 days in a row, the human left for work in the morning and then did not come home until after bedtime, which is shocking.
Yes, shocking human behavior.
Shocking. Okay. I'm going to add to the mirror theme now that I finished my makeup by just wearing this very shiny, shiny cape.
Oh, it's kind of got mirrors on it.
Yeah. I purchased this.
Very cool.
I think I purchased this for the reason I'm about to tell you, rather than like previously having it and just using it for this. I purchased this for a Christmas storytelling event I was part of, where I had a story about being a snow dragon. So I tried to like dress with a snow dragony vibe for telling the story at this open mic night. So I got this.
It's very good. It's very dragony. It's like proper iridescent dragon scale. So our other topics, we had maintaining boundaries with your workplace, which in the story has kind of turned into when you don't do this, but it's there. Group projects. We love a group project. Situational likes. That is sort of the idea that maybe you enjoy something, but only in a very specific context. So the one I think that was suggested was enjoying country music, but only during a road trip.
My animal friend is now up to attacking something about me. What are you even doing? Sorry.
It's all right. Acting on what you think you hear rather than what you're actually asked to do, or sort of only hearing half the story or instructions. mindful interactions with the weather or environment, such as sort of the feeling of the wind or the air being thick or having a texture. Cable chaos. Weird names of soccer or for the UK folks football teams. My dad kindly sent the full listings of who's playing who so that I could see lots of examples. And because it's P's birthday, I added in queer crew at the library, charity or op shop adventure, and a hint of magic, which is not something I often bring into story time for grown-ups, but it's very, very subtle. We'll see if anyone even notices the magical thing. But a little poem to start us off. It's called A Sign. In the mirror, I could see it, the gift of a golden glowing halo, drawing my gaze over my right shoulder to promises of warmth and wonder. Reflected on the sun-kissed stone of a wall, the whisper of a word, pushing me to the right road in rainbow crystal colours. A sign, a truth, a yes from the universe to my unspoken plea, the best gift ever, certainty of the right reception. I whirled and skipped to take the stage, to share, to sing my soul out. But oh, mirror images are backwards. I stopped, the moment balanced on the tip of my tongue. Signs are no good, half read, I suppose. I sang the song I'd practiced instead. So the story today is called If You'd Asked. Mike the Cocker Spaniel was Mike as in microphone, not Mike as in Michael. No one ever realised this from the sound of his name, and they didn't listen properly when he or his human, Wilma, tried to tell them. Mike had a project, the aim of which was twofold. The humans who came into the community centre drama space were always very confused and untidy. Whilst they often accurately described the long rubbery lines they carried as leads, they seemed incapable of making the leap to putting these away in the lead crate. The lead crate was the box in the small attached storage shed where Mike's other leads and toys were kept out of the way. Mike could see that the way the humans put leads in all kinds of other places was causing a lot of trouble. Sometimes they would spend hours looking for a particular one, or bark at each other and point at the ends as though they couldn't agree on what the leads were. Other times they would trip over them and hurt themselves because humans were, by nature, very clumsy. Tidying the leads away into his lead crate would therefore be helpful. He could bring the humans' leads when they needed them, and everything would be much more organised and cause less disruption. Plus, since the leads sometimes went with microphones, and everyone would have to say, "I need a lead for this mic, Mike," Mike thought that perhaps this project would help people to understand that his name was Mike, not Mike. This second objective was, he admitted, a stretch goal, but it was possible. Wilma came into the main practice space now, carrying a lead, which she put down on top of a high surface at the end of the room, before hurrying off somewhere. Mike thought that humans often seemed to make up things to do. It was their way of playing, he guessed. Whatever Wilma had decided was so important to do right now, she'd left the lead behind, which suited Mike. He dutifully went over and collected the lead, which took several attempts and required him to jump up on a chair and then launch himself at the surface, on which Wilma had placed the rubbery coil. Lead acquired, Mike set off out to the storage shed to add it to the neat pile in his crate. Wilma stirred some almond milk into her cup of coffee and hurried into her office space to get set up for the group meeting. She let Mike, her Cocker Spaniel, stay in the practice room. He knew how to go in and out of the automatic door, and was well loved by all the regular staff and adult education groups. He was a good dog. Occasionally, Wilma did get the distinct feeling that he was up to something. But since no huge holes had appeared in anything, and all the props and equipment seemed to be true mark free, she guessed it must not be anything that would be a major issue. She opened Microsoft Teams and got out an exercise book in case Ryan, the head of community services, actually had anything important to tell her. Various surnames popped up on the list as assorted colleagues joined the meeting with their cameras and microphones switched off. It was silent, in the awkward way that comes with not knowing when A, the boss is suddenly going to appear, or B, someone is going to accidentally join with their mic or camera on and put their big face or their unpleasant noises on display for everyone else. Wilma checked for the third time that she was definitely on mute before taking a slurp of her coffee. The telltale crackle of a headset mic being pulled into place heralded Ryan's arrival. Wilma set down her coffee and checked her hair in the reflection in her office window before switching her own camera on. She felt she should save Ryan the awkwardness of being the only one on screen, which often happened to him otherwise. Ryan squinted to the side, which Wilma knew meant he was trying to check the list to ensure everyone had arrived. "Right," he said, "I think we're all here." Wilma smiled at him, since she knew she was his only feedback. "Morning, everybody," Ryan added, in a bright, come on, say something tone. "How are we all doing today?" A few thunks and breathy noises indicated various people turning their mics on, then not wanting to be the first to speak. "I'm good, thanks," Wilma supplied. "I've just finished setting up for the introductory adult drama class tonight, and we're all set for the Tearsview primary school kids to come in this afternoon. So all going well over in drama." She sat back and switched back to mute, considering this a sufficient update. "Everyone else on track for events happening this week?" Ryan asked, fishing for more interaction. He tried to reach behind him for a clipboard on a shelf and went for the wrong side because of the flipped image in his video feed, knocking down a plastic dinosaur instead. "Sorry." He fumbled around, twisting in his chair. "Show us the Diplodocus," somebody chimed in, apparently more able to contribute when the topic was Ryan's personal belongings. Ryan ducked down out of shot to retrieve the dinosaur, then bashed his head on the desk as he came back up. His camera twisted and started showing a ceiling fan, and his voice said, "Shit." Then the camera wiggled around, showing the creases in the palm of his hand as he tried to put it back in place. "Here he is," he said, holding the plastic dinosaur up to the camera so that it looked huge, then waving about as he tried to position it how he wanted in relation to his head. "My brain is teeny tiny, incredibly weeny small," chanted Wilma, then was rather glad she was on mute. She had, however, danced about in her seat, doing the moves from the show about dinosaurs that the drama team were currently performing for school children, and Ryan gave her a funny look. A bit rich coming from someone who looked as though a diplodocus was eating their hair, Wilma thought. "Anyway," Ryan sighed, removing diplodocus from his shot. "Back to business. It's come to my attention that state funding applications are due on Monday. Is everyone on track with those?" Wilma blinked. She flicked her mic back on. "Monday coming?" "Yes," replied Ryan. "Right. It would have been good if this was mentioned in the last meeting, considering that now, if we haven't done it and we want to, we'll have to work on it over the weekend." Wilma raised her eyebrows. "Yes, my apologies for that," Ryan answered. "I just got an email reminding me this morning." He flicked a biro back and forth between his fingers so that it looked bendy. Some of you may need to delegate that task because we've been asked to start work on a new project with the local council this week. Some of the council marketing team should be joining us on the call at past. Essentially, I think they want a community initiative to promote understanding of our local environment and conservation to all ages. And they're hoping to do that through drama and storytelling in cooperation with our local libraries, which sounds very exciting. Wilma clicked on the raise hand button on her screen. Yes, Wilma? Ryan inquired in a tone of mild annoyance. Sorry, so this is a drama thing? I'm just wondering who I'm supposed to delegate my funding application to, given that my team is me and a few actors who come in just to do demonstrations. Ryan looked at a loss. Never mind, sighed Wilma. I'll just have to do it on the weekend, won't I? It was no wonder she never managed to audition for anything. Out of the corner of her eye, Wilma saw Mike go past the door. He was moving in a very sneaky fashion, looking around as he went and going slower than most dogs tended to. He might have also had something in his mouth, but by the time she turned her head to look properly, he was gone. Up to something, she muttered under her breath. Sorry? Ryan looked up from his notes. Oh, don't worry, Wilma hurried to reassure him, switching her mic off again. There was a ding and a new video feed popped up alongside Ryan's and Wilma's. In it was a young woman with spiky-looking purple streaked hair held back by bobby pins, along with weirdly long eyelashes and a curious smile. Hi, she said. I'm Annae from the council marketing and social media team. She said it like it was a question, like perhaps she wasn't 100% sure that she was, in fact, Annae. Oh, hello, answered Ryan. We weren't expecting you till past, but we can jump right in about the new project if you're ready. Baxter, Tears View's now elderly community choir director, switched his camera on. Annae, we might get to work together. Oh dear, said Annae. It looks like she hadn't meant to say this out loud. I can come back if the rest of my team aren't here yet. No, don't worry, Ryan smiled. Are you familiar with the idea of the project? Could you give us a little intro? Annae looked as though she regretted her decision to join the call very much. Okay, well, basically, from what my managers told me, we're going to be looking at local wildlife and habitat and coming up with performances and stories that raise awareness about it in a way that we can deliver through things like the library's regular Saturday story times. She shrugged. I think that's the gist of it. My job is really more to document and post about it all. Great, thought Wilma, someone who likes to stay in their box. That will be very handy. Then she thought about what Annae had said. The Saturday story time, she echoed. So does that mean that everyone involved would need to work a series of Saturdays? Annae shrugged. Guess so. I have to do that a lot anyway because I do events. She didn't seem too concerned about the fact that the rest of the team might not normally work Saturdays. Wilma said, and switched off her mic. On Saturday, Wilma found herself meeting a team composed of herself, Baxter, Annae, and another council employee in the foyer of Acre Library. Why all of them needed to come on every library visit was beyond her. She had suggested dividing the libraries up between them and each attending a different library event. This, she pointed out, would allow them to gather all the information needed in the fewest number of Saturdays possible. As is ever the case with group projects, however, no one wanted to be solely responsible for talking to a particular library's staff. They also didn't seem to trust one another to get all of the relevant information and make arrangements independently. So here they all were, all four of them attending the Acre Library Storytime to get a feel for the setup and discuss their potential program with the responsible staff. And as a result, no one knew who was actually going to take notes, ask questions, or generally take charge. What they did know immediately on entering the library was that neither they nor the Storytime organisers were the only people gathering there this morning. A quite large group of rainbow-clad, somewhat noisy individuals was gathered in the main space near the loans desk, setting up a Pride book display under an even larger rainbow banner. One of them, a young man of a similar age to Wilma, was standing on the table in order to reach the air conditioner vent to which the banner was attached and add some dangly sparkles. He wore a rainbow onesie and an expression that seemed a little familiar. Wilma watched him for a moment, trying to place him. A member of library staff approached, looking concerned. "Excuse me, folks, you're getting a little bit noisy over here." "Yeah," said the guy. "We're being loud at the library. It's a thing." "No, it isn't, Albie," hissed another voice. "The library's supposed to be peaceful." Wilma blinked. "Albie Lan?" Albie got down from the table by jumping, then looked as though he regretted it, his knees making a pop noise as he straightened up. "Wilma," he exclaimed, "my childhood stage nemesis." Wilma gave him an eye roll. "Nemesis is a strong word." "Mom," wailed a child, appearing from behind Albie and running off. "Dad's being everything at once in public again." An amused-looking figure met her between two aisles and leaned down. "Well, are you going to join in or be embarrassed?" she asked. The child seemed to think about it. "Joining in is more fun." Wilma laughed. "We could do with that kid in drama club. Is she yours?" "Yeah," replied Albie, grinning. "That's Dina, and my wife is Alice." He nodded back over his shoulder at them. "Hi, Wilma," came another voice from behind Albie. Wilma leaned around him. "Oh, hi, Cass." She frowned. "Oh, you're Jen's Albie, aren't you?" Behind Wilma, the other members of the work group were becoming rapidly very confused. "WTF!" exclaimed Annae. "Why do you know everyone?" She sounded personally offended by the situation. Wilma laughed. "Coincidence, sort of. This one," she gestured to Cassie, "is my sister. And that's her fiance, Jen. And this one," she indicated Albie, "I used to go to theatre school with as a kid, and I've just worked out that he's also Jen's friend, who Cassie talks about all the time." She paused. "Also, Annae, it's kind of weird to say the acronym for something it's quicker to just say properly." Albie set about introducing them to everyone else, and in no time at all, they were all busy trying to memorize names and had forgotten what they were here for. The librarian waited for the web of acquaintance to be unravelled. They seemed quite patient on the surface, but were giving Wilma a beady stare the entire time that made her feel that any noise, accident, or misdemeanor on the part of the entire group would be her fault. When everyone was done working out how they knew each other, thought they'd got to know one another, or had given up, the librarian stared around at all of them. "Now, I think we were supposed to be discussing some sort of community initiative." Everyone looked at Wilma, which Wilma felt was most unfair. Since the group seemed to have decided that she was in charge, however, there wasn't much to do except try her best to explain the project. "Well, essentially, we're going to try to put on some short plays and stories about local flora and fauna," she told the librarian. They stuck out their bottom lip and shrugged. "Okay." They spread their hands. And you all needed to come here together to suggest that. Do you need help learning about the local plants and wildlife? Wilma thought about this. Possibly later. She spread her hands too. I think today we just wanted to see how Saturday Storytime runs and how much space you have and that sort of thing. It was embarrassing that there were 4 of them here for this, wasn't it? There was a screech overhead. Oh, for heaven's sake, the librarian snapped. I've already told you that that bird is not allowed to be in here. He doesn't listen when I tell him shh, and he poos on the tops of the bookshelves. Cassie came over, cringing. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't know why he keeps following me in. I feel like he has some sort of project himself, but I can't work out what it is. Crackers! Crackers! Screeched the galah, flying around the corner and into the area where children and parents were assembling on the floor, ready for the story. Several of them ducked and squealed at the unexpected intrusion. Then the bird flew up again and disappeared somewhere at the back of the library, among some storage boxes on the topmost shelf. I actually like birds, the librarian commented. Just, outside. They fixed Cassie with a glare. You're going to need to get him out before the story starts. They eyed Albie, who had got back up on the table and was poking more glittery tinsel stuff over the top of the rainbow banner. And if your display's finished, preferably him too. Cassie turned around. Dina! The child came skipping over. What's up, Cass? Can you ask your dad to sit down and listen to the story with you? Dina stuck out her tongue, tugged on the leg of Albie's onesie, and sent several books tumbling from the display with her elbow. Wilma found herself helping Jen to fix the table, while Albie went off to join the story circle, and Cassie went to her car to get sunflower seeds with which to tempt Crackers the galah back outside. Wilma's colleagues stood about quietly near the story corner, none of them appearing to take any notes or pictures of the space, or generally do any of the things Wilma thought they were here to do. Once the Pride book display was back in place, Wilma went over and did the things herself. Are we done working on a Saturday now? She asked Annae. Maybe, Annae replied, scrolling on her phone and peering at something. Your friend Albie did make an excellent suggestion, though. We could go looking for costume and set stuff in the second-hand shop round the corner. Wilma glared. Albie isn't in our show, though, and I haven't even started to think about costumes. Annae shrugged one shoulder. I think we're supposed to try to involve the wider community in the performances, actually, so Albie could be our first recruit. Are we? Wilma flicked through her notes from the meeting, which had got a bit sparse and then petered out after she'd recorded Annae's very basic description of the project. Oh, maybe we are. Cassie came running back through the doorway, spilling sunflower seeds from a plastic dish in her hand onto the carpet. Crackers! No, don't go back in there. Crackers! Screeched Crackers, beelining his way back towards the far end of the room. Shh! Hissed the librarian, to no avail. Wilma sighed. Fine, I guess we're all going to the Red Cross shop. I hate polka dots in general, but for some reason I quite like white ones on navy blouses, Jen told the crowd at large 20 minutes later. Crackers had been retrieved, and the expedition to the Red Cross shop was underway. The two large group of them spilling out across the shop floor into all the nooks and crannies and the corners full of treasure. Replied Cassie, toying with the hem of what looked like an old soccer shirt. That's like how my dad likes metal music, but only during a road trip. Intense road trips, Wilma remarked, overhearing. Yup, Cassie chuckled. Hey, did you know it's Drea's birthday next week? No, how did you know? Asked Albie. Who's Drea? Asked Wilma. Drea's the librarian you met today. We've kind of been making friends with them since organising the Queer Book Month thing. They pretend to hate crackers, but I think they secretly think he's funny, Cassie explained. And I know because I said, see you next week, and they said they weren't coming in because it's their birthday. Albie did a little excited dance. We must get them the best gift ever. Cassie rolled her eyes at Wilma in a see what we have to put up with way. We just met them, she pointed out. How would we know what would be a good gift, let alone the best? She sighed. I do think we should do something, though, as a thank you for putting up with our mayhem. Speak for yourself, Albie told her. I've been on my best behaviour. Alice and Dina both snorted and started cackling. I think they said they're into soccer, Cassie explained, poking at the jersey on the rack. That's what made me think about it. Annae's head appeared around a rack of assorted pairs of jeans. Oh, yeah, she breathed. I bet they are. They've got that accent like the guy on the radio who does the English soccer scores. She drew herself up taller and did what she obviously thought was the voice. Biggleswade Town 1, Arrington Borough 0, Hitchin Fields Athletic 2, Cribsley United 1. Annae, Jen swatted her with a broad-brimmed straw hat. That's an extreme stereotype. This did not stop them from arguing for the rest of the shopping expedition about whether any of the team names Annae had listed were real, and then about names for two theoretical social teams that could play one another in a birthday match for Drea. On Monday, Wilma set about preparing the practice space in an extreme grump. Several things were at the root of this mood. First, upon coming in, she had discovered that her cable with the special HDMI to VGA adapter on it for connecting her laptop to the projector screen was missing. She'd laid it out on the desk on Friday, especially, she was sure, which meant someone was helping themselves to her precious cables. Second, Ryan had had the audacity to be cross with the new project group for getting sidetracked on their library trip, despite the fact she and Baxter had been giving up their free time to do it. Third, Annae, it turned out, was the kind of person who thinks colleagues who've been with them to the library on a Saturday are automatically their friends. She had followed Wilma on Instagram from her personal account and kept liking all her photos so that Wilma got 1 million notifications in the time it took to eat her falafel wrap. She'd also sent her a private message about Drea's surprise birthday soccer match, which Wilma was pretty sure was a terrible idea based on guesswork. She felt, however, that she sort of had to go to it now. That was the trouble with being put on these kinds of projects. The tasks involved felt a bit too much like hanging out with everyone who was connected to them. It made Wilma feel as though her life was one big soup of people and activities in which she could no longer tell which bits were work and which bits were socializing, and who was her friend and who just wanted her to direct their play, and whether she really understood this distinction to begin with. Fourth, Wilma was not supposed to be at work today at all, because she was supposed to get today off to make up for Saturday. The stand-in drama tutor, however, had the flu. Ryan had expressed the view that quite a bit of Saturday was actually the group just socialising, and Wilma found that the prospect of letting anyone else preside over rehearsals for the end-of-term show made her skin crawl. So here she was, spending her Monday searching for a spare cable to connect the projector when she already owned every kind of cable, lead, converter, and connector under the sun. She just couldn't find any of them. Mike was also infuriated this morning. He kept going into the practice room, barking at Wilma, and trying to lead her to his beautifully organised lead crate. But Wilma was being very human about it and kept giving him a tolerant look that meant she thought he was playing a game. Then she'd say, "Up to something," under her breath, and go back to pulling everything out of boxes and drawers all over the room and her office. It was no good. If Mike wanted the human to understand, he would have to bring her the evidence. He trotted out into the storage shed and began removing everything that wasn't a lead from the lead crate. It had, until now, also held some balls, chewy hide treats, and the remains of a stuffed toy octopus. Mike set these all aside, being careful not to get distracted by the octopus's remaining 2 legs. Then he took a firm hold of the lead crate and began dragging it out of the shed and in through the automatic doors to the rest of the drama rooms. Some of the leads fell out, and Mike did his best to put them back in. But since time was of the essence, eventually he let a few remain where they'd fallen. Wilma was making her way back from the office when she saw a coiled dark shape on the floor of the corridor. Surely not. After all this, had she just dropped it? She stooped and scooped up the cable, inspecting the ends, but it was the wrong one. Still, she'd been looking for that camera charger cable last week. A little further along the hall, she saw something else on the ground and picked it up to find it was a guitar lead that she'd been accused of taking away from last week's performance for Acre Primary. This was rather strange. Wilma went through the door to the main practice room and found a box. It was a box of cables. All kinds of cables, from microphone XLRs in neat coils to connectors for stage lights and USB headphones. And right on the top, neatly folded up, was the cable she needed for the projector. Behind the box sat Mike, wagging his tail in a somewhat expectant way and looking up at her with proud eyes. He must have been able to tell that Wilma was pleased, Wilma thought. Wilma supposed one of her colleagues must have found this box and brought it in here for her, knowing she often had trouble with cable chaos. She mused. This was nice of somebody. Maybe my colleagues aren't so bad. Hey, Mike? It's almost like a gift having these so organised. I'd just about be tempted to call it the best gift ever at this point. She rifled through the contents. Oh, look, there are even some of your leads in here, boy. We must have left those lying around, mustn't we? Silly us. Woof, answered Mike emphatically. On Saturday, Wilma, her colleagues on the new group project, and her new friends from the library did not work on their project. They met up at Albie's house, where they got into some soccer gear that had been ordered online and gathered from various second-hand stores in a great hurry. As a result, the teams did not quite match, but the group had resolved this by choosing very different colours for the 2 groups. Biffington Hedges was an ugly neon yellow and maroon, while Gallarrington United was navy and white. Albie was trying to go all out with face paint and was frowning at the hallway mirror in concentration. One thing we didn't consider, he murmured, as he pulled the paint down his cheek in a neat fluorescent yellow stripe. What's that? Asked Wilma, joining him and dipping a brush in the white paint. Well, if Drea isn't going to be at work today, how are we going to find them to surprise them? Wilma considered. Well, she said, if they're anything like me, they will end up back at the library as usual. We might as well go there. And if they really aren't in, then we'll ask their colleagues. Cassie pulled up her striped white and navy socks. What if they have plans all day? She worried. We could film our game, Jen suggested. Yeah, but they're supposed to get to play. Plus, I don't actually know how to play, so I feel like I might not be that entertaining in a recording. Wilma laughed. Well, we did plan this entire thing without consulting them, she pointed out. If we have to reschedule, it's our own fault. Sure enough, though, when the soccer kit-clad crowd entered the library, Drea was there. They did not look very birthday-ish. They looked cross. The reason for this was soon apparent. Crackers! Crackers! Came a screech from the back shelves. Cassie! Drea shouted. Your darn galah is here. Cassie looked suitably embarrassed. I can hear that. She approached the back of the library in a gradual stop-start motion. Crackers! What are you up to? She stood on tiptoe, peering at the top of the shelf. The others pressed in behind her, trying to see what the bird was doing. A large amount of shredded newspaper was forming a snow-like covering on the edge of each shelf, thickest on the top, where stacks of newspapers must have been archived. Oh, crackers, Cassie sighed, looking mortified. Crackers! Crackers! Screeched the galah. He made no move to come down from the top shelf. Do you have a step ladder? Asked Cassie. Drea went off to find one. A short while later, everyone was looking at a box that Cassie had retrieved from under all the shredded newspaper. It was labelled Vita Wheat 5-seed crackers. You weren't lying, were you, Crackers? Wilma said to him. Drea had no idea how the box of crackers had come to be under the newspapers. Since the best before date was for 3 years earlier, Cassie gave Crackers some more sunflower seeds instead, and they all helped sweep up all the shredded paper. Why are you dressed for football? Drea asked when they were finished. Cassie smiled. We thought we heard that you liked it, so we figured we could maybe have a game since it's your birthday. Drea looked at her. Everyone else looked at Drea. You went and got kit for everyone without actually asking me if I even really liked football, Drea replied, frowning. Outside, there was a rumble of thunder. It is at least actually your birthday, right? Cassie inquired, looking as though she was questioning all of her memories. That much is true, Drea told her. And I suppose you've gone to the trouble, so we should go and play. They headed for the door, and the others followed, subdued. It didn't seem like Drea was all that pleased. The moment Drea stepped outside, a gusty wind swept down the road and buffeted everyone back on their heels. It had a weight behind it, like a wide sheet or a sail slapping hard against their chests and faces. And it was a bit odd, because it had been sunny when they went inside. A slight wetness, like misty rain, gathered in the gusts as they whipped across the asphalt of the road and coated everyone in a damp slick. Oh dear, remarked Wilma. She could feel the face paint sliding from her cheeks, the thick, wet slaps of the wind drawing colour to her face. Drea turned around to look at them. Perfect football weather, they remarked, a hint of a smile glancing over their face. As it did so, a thin ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, then vanished again into the grey. My face paint, wailed Albie, patting his cheeks. I wouldn't worry about that, Drea told him. I'm not sure what you're trying to write, but those letters look like ancient characters. I think they were back to front if they were even the right way round. They grinned. I guess you put it on the mirror, didn't you? Albie slapped his palm to his face. Are we really going to play in this? He seemed to have to yell over the wind in a way that Drea didn't. It's perfect, Drea repeated. Feel it. The air has texture. Running in this would be like flying. Wilma and a few of the others held their arms out and tried to feel the air. It seemed to push against them, as if proving the point. If you'd asked, Drea continued, I'd have told you I only like football under very specific circumstances. Weather like this is one of them. What are the others? Wilma asked, curious. Well, it's got to be with people who aren't very good at it, Drea said. It's got to be on a Saturday. Cassie grinned, tipping her head back to let the wind pelt her in the face. So we got it right by accident then. Drea started walking, leading the way to what was going to be a very muddy bit of local park. Yep. I wouldn't try that with your project, though. Our local species are not that well known to everyone. You don't want to put the wrong stuff in your stories. If you'd asked, I also might have mentioned that I'm the specialist conservation librarian. Wilma stopped walking, then started again and had to jog to catch up, the wind threatening to lift her feet out from under her. Oh, shoot, she said, her words almost stolen by the wind. Conservation? We're supposed to promote conservation in the performance, aren't we? Drea smiled, and the sun got in Wilma's eyes. Don't worry, they laughed. I've got you. And then they all played soccer in the mud and the gusting wind. And Drea was right. Running did feel a little bit like flying. Everyone was already so muddy and wet that they stopped caring about falling over and played with abandon. Afterwards, they all had to go and shower and get towels and reconvene in dry clothes at the cafe in the main street. The sun came out then, kept everybody warm, as Drea smiled at them over a mug of mocha. I feel like I got a gift getting to experience that, Jen admitted. Normally, if the weather's like that, I'd just hide from it until it wasn't. Drea grinned. See, best weather for football. Not very well planned, but I will say this was the best gift ever in the end. You liked the game? Cassie asked, her eyes sparkling. Yeah, replied Drea, but that's not what I meant. What did you mean then? Wilma wondered, frowning. I meant not having to work on a Saturday. Drea answered with a wink. And Wilma wondered what she'd got herself into, because technically she knew all these people through work, and maybe that meant she was working on a Saturday, and she needed to set better boundaries. But then again, if anyone had asked her how she wanted to spend her Saturday, she'd probably have said getting some exercise and then having coffee with friends. And depending how you looked at it, that was exactly what she'd done. Sometimes boundaries, she reflected, were more like shorelines, shifted and shaped by the tides of life. And if you were lucky, those shifts could be the best gift ever.
Oh.
Yay!
Yeah, that was
Well,
lovely.
Sorry for Mike.
Pussycat.
Poor Mike, so his hard work has still gone unrecognized and unappreciated.
And was the magic Drea influencing the weather?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Have we got any November requests?
Jacket potatoes with a variety of toppings.
Ooh. All right.
That's what we had for dinner last night.
Oh.
For a while, there used to be a thing called Murphy's Spuds, which was like a mobile restaurant thing.
A little
and you could get jacket
trailer.
Yeah.
Just
and that's disappeared.
Yeah.
But I would
But there
actually
is
have that.
Potato. There is Mr. Potato. There is a franchise that just does baked potatoes all around Adelaide now.
Is there?
Oh.
Yeah, you've got a new one.
Well, that's
I saw a really cool little gadget on Facebook the other day. It was like basically a miniature potato cooker. So it's just like the size and shape of a potato in metal. And I think you can put it on top of like a wood burning stove or like in a fire. And then it can cook your jacket
Right,
potato.
yes, this is like a little camp oven like thing.
Like a little mini
Yeah,
camp
it's
oven.
just
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
right
potato scale.
potato, a protective metal case for
Yeah.
a potato.
But is one enough?
No, one is not enough.
Is one
Definitely
enough?
not. No, not enough.
Depends on the size of the
remember
potato. A good jacket potato is usually, a double fister.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, a
And then
double
one
fit.
is-
That's true, the English potatoes. But where are you now, P? Are you still in
Shanghai.
China? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are potatoes readily available?
Yes. And
Oh.
good chunky ones too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But what about fires? Are you allowed to have fires in China?
Well, I'm not guessing not in town.
Depends. I mean, not occasionally people will be like burning stuff in the street because of like it's part of the ancestor worship of like you get like little fake money and little fake like paper versions of objects and then you burn them to like give your ancestors. So there are some weeks where like I do just walk down the road and there'll be a yellow chalk circle on the street and it's like a warning of like a hot pile of ash from where someone has
Oh,
gone outside and burnt something. But not big fires, and fireworks are illegal in the big cities. So like Chinese New Year, if you want fireworks, you've got to get out of the city and go to the countryside.
Go on from what P said, and so jacket potatoes, how many potatoes is enough or how many is too many?
yeah.
And then also go with that ancestors thing, because that would be, potatoes and ancestors. I mean, that's got to be a thing.
Potatoes relevant.
Yes,
I
in
feel
England,
like there's so much.
potato things they
like-
had all the time. They had vans in Blackpool, and in
Blackpool,
the back of them, they had burners, and they would just make potatoes. That's what you
Oh.
would buy. And all you could put in it was butter and cheese. There wasn't anything else.
Yeah, just went and got your potato basically like we would out of the fire and put a bit of
Yeah, butter and cheese was it.
Yeah,
There
I love that kind of
wasn't.
business. It's like we do one thing and we do it really straightforwardly and no messing
That's
about.
it.
Yeah.
Just-
I feel
None
like
of this
everyone
fancy
seems
life.
to have opinions on potatoes. Like everyone has a favorite potato food. Like we love our hot chips, people love baked potatoes. There's like, I think one of the Irish kind of beliefs was that all you need to eat is potatoes because they've got all your nutrients you need. But then like modern dieting culture has been like, no, potatoes are the devil. They're so starchy and you're bad. And it's like this complete opposite of they're just starch and they're bad versus they have everything you need. You can just eat them. Like it's just this like everyone has these big
Contrasting
like
opinions of
Yeah.
it.
So potato
They have a
debates.
lot more nutrition than you think you do. I always thought they were just a carbohydrate, but they're not.
No.
They actually have like as much vitamin C as oranges or something.
Wow. So maybe I should up my request from just jacket potatoes to strong potato opinions.
yeah.
Potatoes. Put prints, Sarah. Put prints as well. The word print,
Print?
because people do potato prints. Did you ever do them at school?
Oh yeah, I've tried
Yeah.
to
So
do
you make
that
an
as a
art?
growing up,
Yeah.
and I'm a hopeless. I can't get it to.
It's actually like a really terrible thing to try and get kids to do because potatoes are really hard to cut, like just in general, and then to like carve into a beautiful shape is like, yeah, just combining children and sharp knives and something that's really hard to cut.
Yeah, it's like getting them to do
Mm.
pumpkin carving at school with like, yeah. This is a lot of potato stuff. I don't. Why do these
like
characters have
Only
so
one
many
suggestion
potatoes?
that's just kind of branching.
Yes, but what you've got to bear in mind is that the potato is also a utility. Have you seen the modern version of Red Dwarf, where they get sent back in time and their phone is down and they need their phone to make their time machine work? So what do they have to find?
They
A humble
do
spud.
thing.
Used. What makes electricity?
Yeah, they
Potatoes.
do the electricity with the
Potatoes, lemons,
done that.
spherical objects
I don't
with
think we have
things stuck in them.
Hmm.
That's all you have to do.
Conductor.
They actually make electricity. You can make electricity from potatoes and lemons.
You've got to stick wires in.
Wires and things.
Tiny amounts.
Not a lot.
But it works. Look it up on the internet.
But emergency communication or something.
Emergency
what you are.
communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so kind of based on the potato power thing, emergency communication. And my pen's run out.
Albie in a group project at uni.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that does sound fun. What, unrelated to potatoes, perhaps, or perhaps.
Well, I was just thinking about Sputnik and Spudnik was my random like.
It's a good idea.
Okay. So lots of potato-related ones. Plus Albie in a group project at uni. Is there anything completely unrelated to potatoes? Anyone would like?
Oh, well, pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Halloween.
Roast.
Potato and meat soup. Potato,
Are you making like
potato.
jacket
Potato with-
potato lanterns?
Oh,
Oh, like trying to do your jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween using potatoes.
Yep.
Maybe. Yeah, that's sort of more potato carving, isn't
But
it?
it'll be mid-November by then, so will Halloween still be?
Yeah,
Oh,
it'll be
true.
past Halloween by a bit.
Yeah.
We
I'm
will.
really bad at this time of year when things are. I'm like, Halloween's in about a month, right? No.
But
Halloween.
ancestors will go well with the Halloween theme.
Yes, that's
would.
true. So yeah, we can do a bit of Halloween because we sort of miss Halloween because the story being in the second Saturday of the month
Yeah.
falls in
don't
the
mind
middle
that,
of
yeah.
two stories, so we can do a slightly belated Halloween.
Because it could kind of be like a Halloween and Thanksgiving combo. Because
Mhm.
like you do your roasts and stuff at Thanksgiving,
Yep.
and then you have your ancestors and like lanterns and carving for Halloween.
Yep.
Okay.
So kind of like a
We got traditions.
some sort of tradition. Yeah, it's a bit like Albie and Alina and Jen do, a solstice thing.
The
Um,
solstice thing.
Yeah, it could be kind of a hybrid festival that some friends have created of some sort that has aspects of different traditions.
Not having the right tools to do the job.
Not having the right tools.
And what is the usual solution?
Oh, I've got another completely random one if you want.
Yep.
Yeah, throw it in.
Trying to identify what creature is in your garden or in your roof or somewhere, just like based on their poo.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole science,
Very
isn't
cool.
it? The identification
That is a
of
science.
creatures
We
from-
found
Yeah.
food today.
That's how we located the koala today. You see the proof
yes,
there.
they're quite distinctive. Yep.
Lots of poop. Actually, River
I
ate some.
thought I had a rat keeping me company, and eating my mandarins. But the poo, which is underneath the tree where all the mandarin outsides are being dropped, has much bigger poo than I expect from rats. So I need to go look up
It'd be a
possum. poo and see what
possum.
that looks
Possum,
Possum.
Yeah.
definitely possum.
like. But then, like, whatever
Awesome.
creature is living in my house is living like in between the two layers of the house, like first and
Oh,
second
yeah.
floor, like
Yeah,
underneath the
possums.
floor. Possum?
We have,
We
we
had
have
a-
that at
Yeah.
Grattan Street. They like to get in the toilet roof, the outdoor
Yeah.
Very, very
a
small
little
space.
opening in the cavity. And yeah, that.
Yeah.
They love it.
And
It didn't
Tegan
sound like it was
at-
very big, which is why I was thinking rat, but yeah,
Yeah.
No,
small possum.
And at Grattan Street, Sarah's grandma had a wood stove outside, which was given to her, and we bought flue for it so that it could reach above a two-storied house. It was actually under a veranda, and we made a bit of a jiggle when we put the flue so it would reach above the house to, so the smoke wasn't
No
offensive.
doubt.
And we one time we lit the fire and there was this scrabbling noise and we was like, oh no, there's a bird in there. So we sort of hastily put the fire out and we lifted the whole flue up and there was a little possum in the bottom. And it had made this beautiful little nest of gum leaves. It would have been 8 meters of flue. And so there was nothing.
No idea.
Nothing to hang on to.
How it was getting in
a galvanized pipe about 8 meters. And that little chappie must have come and gone up that pipe quite happily.
Really don't know. It must have like done it like this, like when you just put pressure.
Yeah, that's the only way.
But it also
It's
had
so
taken
hard.
all these leaves and stuff to make a little nest to sit in. Yeah, completely.
So let's have
blue. So the smoke was like coming out the front of the fireplace.
Yeah, so stick in accessing the inaccessible, Sarah.
Oh, yeah, well, that goes well with the tools and possibly with like there being a creature of some kind in your space that you're trying to identify.
Yeah.
I need to head out.
All right.
It was so nice to have story time on my birthday. Thank you so much.
We didn't
Happy
sing.
birthday, Pete.
We should be singing.
We should have sung with Emily conducting.
I'll show my cake.
Yeah.
I have cake.
My cake is all gone, but I.
Cake's all gone. That is fair enough.
I'm here and I can join in. I can conduct.
Can you conduct?
Off you go.
3, 2, 1. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday,
Happy
dear.
birthday
to
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Good night, Pete.
Bye.
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 Good to see
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks for being part of the story.
Thanks for joining.
Remember,
Bye-bye,
remember
thank you.
it's